It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS, AM 1160 and 101.1 FM, and she is on the air with us now, and I'm so thrilled to be able to talk this morning with Oleta Adams, who is coming on Friday to the Gorell Recital Hall at IUP, and she talks to us this morning from, Oleta, what'd you say, the Kansas side of Kansas City?
The Kansas side of Kansas City, that's right. Good morning.
Good morning to you. Is there a difference between the Kansas side and the St. Louis or the Missouri side? You're on the better side, I assume.
Well, if you ask all of the Kansans, we'd say yes. It's all wonderful. It's a great place to live, being in the heartland of America, right in the middle of everything, and people are very friendly, and this is where I got my break. This is where I met my husband, and we just stayed here, and it works out for me very well for all the travel that we do.
And it really is where you were discovered, if you will, on a national scale, because you were like a local legend there anyway, weren't you? You had been performing for years around Kansas City, and all of a sudden you came to light, and everybody said, "Did you hear this voice?"
Yeah, exactly. It was in Kansas City on the Missouri side that Tears for Fears found me back in the 80s, specifically in 1985. And then I didn't meet them at that time.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that they were in the audience. And 2 years later, they called me up and asked me to be a part of the Seeds of Love album. And those days it was album.
Yeah, we remember finally.
and then I was asked to sing Woman in Chains, and the rest is history.
And what a song that was, my goodness gracious. When you think about down through the years and the training that actually enabled you to come to light so well, as a preacher's kid, you got to sing in church, and there's no better training ground, is there?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, I think it's wonderful because you're taught to sing from the bottom of your heart. You're trying to reach, the deepest part of human emotion, and that's where I learned to just close my eyes, throw my head back, and give it everything I've got, and to sing to a higher spiritual level, and that's besides the fact that I am a Christian, and it's just served me very, very well.
And the song construction, when you're singing songs of the Spirit, the construction of those songs is just beautiful.
Thank you very much. I like to feel that I'm inspired from a spiritual standpoint, and I also I like to try to be the voice of what all people feel, or many people feel. I've written some songs that, it should say to a lot of people, I understand where you are, or this is how I think you might see this or that particular emotion or feeling, the rough things that we have to go through as human beings in life. Saying goodbye to someone, or I wrote a song called The Long and Lonely Hours. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't a hit or anything. It's been in the last few years that I wrote that. And when people download it, they say, "How did you know? This is exactly how my mother felt."
Oh, my.
People who have gone through either terminal illnesses or long-term hospital stays. And it's a very difficult situation, not only for the patient, but also for the family. And I've had people to speak to me over the phone and say, "How did you know?" That's exactly how my mother or my aunt or my grandmother, my father felt. And it's just opening ourselves up to being very vulnerable and seeing past the outside of a person, but instead, really digging deep and thinking about how we can be overwhelmed by being fully human.
Oleta Adams is with us this morning. She'll be performing at IUP at the Gorell Recital Hall coming up on Friday. your songwriting talents are so rich, and yet you have this song, Get Here, which had to have spoken to you as if maybe you had written it. It's a Brenda Russell song, and it became sort of an anthem back in the early 1990s during the height of the Gulf War. It sort of got adopted. What did that make you feel like?
You know, Brenda and I have talked about this. I tell her, thank you so much for writing that song for me. She recorded it first, and I was in Europe at the time. This is coming off of, in the 80s, I had just finished recording with Tears for Fears for that, breakout song, the Sowing the Seeds of Love, the Woman in Chains, and then I went on to do piano bar in Scandinavia for about 6 or 7 months. And it was in Oslo that I first heard that song. When I got back to the States, I started performing it nightly in the clubs where I was working. And it started out being, a song in the first set to a song in the last set. And we would just keep singing the end of it playing the end of it for, 15, 20 minutes. It just went on and on. We called it Variations in the Key of B flat. And it was funny because I remember that one night there were very few people in the club and in the bar. And one man had been sleeping all night through our sets. He had had too much to drink. And he came over. We finished with that song, and he came over to me and he said, "Ma'am, I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't remember those other songs you sing, but that last one was a real good one." So, I guess you that was complete honesty. That's the one that touched him the most while he was half asleep, but he woke up for that one. So that sometimes that's our barometer. You know what I mean? You take what you can get. But I love that because we all have this desperate call, and I have countless stories of people saying they heard the song on a bus, one lady said, and she had to get off the bus because she was crying so hard because the person that she loved was over in Desert Storm, as in the military. And so many people could relate to that. They really miss their loved ones, and the people who are still stuck here at home or over there fighting. It just gives a sense of comfort to be able to cry out like that, and that's what I felt like.
We're talking with Oleta Adams. See, I have this mental image of you there in your home, walking over barefoot to the piano, sitting down, and getting something amazing going through your fingers into the keyboard, and then you unleash that voice of yours. And I wanted to ask you this because, as I thought about it and listened to some of your recordings, are you still finding out new things about your voice? It's so amazing. Are there things that you are discovering still about what you can do with your voice? Yeah,
these days I discover that I can do less with it. Unfortunately, that's what happens with age. But I am discovering the magic of it. For so many years, I was disappointed as I was coming up that my voice was so low compared to everyone else who was singing so high, including the guys. The guys were singing higher than me even, and I've come to appreciate the fact that I have a tone quality, and it was a singer that's no longer with us. His name was Carl Anderson, who expressed to me that, and a few other performers who expressed to me that there's something in the tone that is magical, that just has an effect that goes through people. It's the way that note sounds that just, I don't know, it's there's some kind of special thing in it, spirit in it, that just goes through people. And I've been very, very thrilled to have that kind of unique sound that can easily be identified, and it took me quite a while. I really appreciate it now, and just so you know, it's true that when I sing at home, I can enjoy myself just as much singing as with an audience. Oh. It has to start here at home. That's when I know that I'm approaching a song in the right way or not.
When you come to IUP on Friday night, there will be university students in attendance at the concert, and I don't know how you feel about introducing your music to youngsters, but it must be a thrill when they get it, when they figure it out, what you're all about as a performer.
It is. It means an awful lot. Last November, we did a concert here in Kansas City, and my husband plays drums for me and has for many, many years. He invited a friend of his who was also a drummer to bring some students of his to our concert. And they came to the sound check, so they're very young. They're college and younger. Mm-hmm. Actually, they're high school students, actually. And I watched them in the sound check, and they kind of listened, but they were moving around a lot in the theater, and we were not sure if they would sit down during the show. We were concerned about it. But after the show, when I was out signing some CDs and greeting people in my hometown here now, the kids waited to come up and talk to me, and they couldn't speak when they came up to me that time, after the show. They just had one hand over their mouths, tears were running down their face, and that was really a wonderful feeling at this point in my life, to feel that they got it. It had to be, they understood the magic in this, the power of music when it is authentic, when it is genuine, when it's filled with love, when you are vulnerable, and when you really care about the people that you're singing to.
It is music that touches the soul, and we will hear it on Friday. Oleta Adams is coming here to IUP Corral Recital Hall on Friday night at 8 o'clock. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today. I've enjoyed it.
Todd, thank you so very, very much. I really enjoyed speaking with you.
Have a wonderful day today.
You too.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
There is Oleta Adams.